Hello, welcome back to the Lingualum. Today we're going to discuss another syntax topic that is from structure to thought. We're going to cover all what we have studied in this video, starting from XBAR, that is structure, then GB, which is relations, then minimalism, which is efficiency. So we're going to cover what we have studied in this video. It's like a summary of the whole for better understanding and easy to know that which concept come under which domain. So let's first start with X bar. It asks what shape is the phrase, and then GB, this asks who refers to whom, who moves where, and minimalism, what is the simplest way to do it. These are just phases for you to use as trick. Now we have covered a lot of videos in syntax, but these are about from video 1 to 4 and 8 one. We are not including the or practice tree diagram videos in it. So pillar 1, that is X bar. X bar is basically structure. This episode asks the most basic question in syntax: what shape does the phrase have? Before you can analyze anything, movement, reference, economy, you need to know how sentences are built. So XBAR basically provides us the structure that how sentences are built. This is basically about everything before movements and before minimalism. Episode 1, which is syntactic structures, is written according to the timeline, how the works were introduced in 1957, the first ever one. It is Chomsky's one of the major works which provided the landmark and changed in syntax. Before this, linguistics described language as the way of botanists describe plant collecting and classifying. Chomsky asked a different question: what rule system produces grammatical sentences and blocks ungrammatical one? And then he introduced phrase structure rules, that is, sentence is built of NP and VP is built of or consists of V and NP, and transformational rules to move constituents. Constituent is any part of the sentence. It can be whole sentence, it can even be just one phrase of the sentence. So this introduced syntax as a formal generative system for the first time. This is where grammar became generative. Here introduced phrase structure rules, transformation, generative grammar, kernel sentences, and T rules. Then moving forward to the episode 2, that is the work of 1965, aspects of the theory of syntax. This is a standard model of generative grammar. Chomsky splits sentence structure into two levels. Deep structure, the abstract underlying meaning representation. It is in your mind, in your head. It is not the output form. Then surface structure, which is actually pronounced. When you say something, that is the surface structure. Transformation may one of maps one to the other. He also introduced the distinction between competence, which is what you know, and performance, what you say, and proposed that universal grammar, that is UG, His innate biological endowment underlies all human languages. That all human languages, when you're born, you all have universal grammar. So here, where grammar found its theory of mind. In this work, it into deep structure, surface structure, universal grammar, competence versus performance, transformation, and base roles. Then the third work, that is from aspects to ESC, extended standard theory and rest. Extended standard theory and its revised extended standard theory were movements of the aspect model. Semantic interpretation was moved partially to surface structure, not only to deep structure. More importantly, constraint began to replace rules instead of specifying every possible transformation. Linguists asked what limits movement. This period introduced the idea of filters and conditions on rule, the seeds of government and binding, that is GB. Now, this is just a quote. When grammar learns to think with limits. In this work is introduced EST, REST, then surface semantic interpretation, conditions on rule, then filters, then trace theory, then X-bar theory, spanning from 1970 to 1977. It is introduced in Chomsky's 1970 paper. This is Remarks on Nominalization, in which it was first proposed that all phrases share the same internal architecture. Jackendorf in 1977 formalized this into X-bar theory. Every phrase is headed by the lexical item X. This is the head, and then intermediate projection X-bar and the maximal projection XP, which makes a phrase. Specify head and complement slots are universal across all phrases types and all languages. This was the universal template of phrase structure, the map every phrase followed. Now, this is where phrases found their map. Now, the major points that's introduced in this work of features that are X-bar schema had X-bar intermediate projection, then XP maximal projection, specify complement. These are the phrases NP, VP, I would write. These are for both adjective phrase. So it's better to write ADJ for adjective phrase and ADV for adverb phrase, then PP and CP. Then in 1986, Knowledge of Language, that is episode number 8, a philosophical companion to the technical work. Chomsky asked, when we say a person knows English, what exactly do they know? He distinguished high language, internal, individual, intentional, the mental grammar from e-language, external social language. He also clarified the Plato's problem. How do children acquire rich grammatical knowledge from limited, impoverished input? Chomsky answered this question by saying universal grammar and innate structure connects directly back to the X-bar and GB framework. So this states grammar as a mirror of the mind. He introduced I language, E language, Plato's problem, poverty of stimulus, universal grammar, and language acquisition. Now moving forward, pillar number 2, that are episode 5 to 7. Is a government and binding, which is relations. GB. Once you know the shape of phrase, the next question is what relationships hold between elements inside those phrases. GB replaces transformational rules with universal principles and language-specific parameters, the most powerful unification in the history of syntax. Here introduced PNP, which is principles and parameters. You can watch all the videos as they are in detail. This is just for understanding and comparison, that get to know how and to connect all the concepts. This is about that. Well, episode number 5, government and binding theory, the most complete and influential syntactic theory before minimalism. Instead of listing rules, theory proposed a set of interacting modules, each governing a different types of relation. The framework eliminated the need of 400 of language-specific transformation rule and replaced them with a small set of universal principles, producing an elegant, modular architecture of grammar. That is where syntax became a system of principles. This introduced binding theory, case theory, theta theory, government, bounding theory, control theory, ECP, and move alpha. Okay, let's first look at the binding theory. Who can refer to whom? It is principle A, anaphora. Himself, themselves must be bound locally within their clause. That is, then principle B, pronouns him, her must be free locally, cannot refer back within the same clause. Then principle C, or expression John, the cat must be free everywhere, cannot be co-referred with the C commanding element. These are principles that are introduced in binding theory. These are examples. Then module B, which is case theory. Every other DP must receive abstract case, nominative, accusative, or obligate. A case is assigned by the governor. T assign nominative to subject. V assign accusative to object. A DP without case is ungrammatical. This is case filter. Then theta theory. Verbs assign thematic role that agent goal experiences to their arguments. So each argument receives exactly one theta role, and each theta role is assigned to exactly one argument. Then module D, government. A head X governs a category Y. If X C commands Y and no barrier intervenes, government regulates case assignment, ECP, and the licensing of empty categories, trace and probe. We have discussed in our video about tracing and probe. Then bounding theory. Movement cannot cross more than one bounding node in a single step. Subject-C. This explains island violation. Why? This is an example. What did you meet? The man who bought is ungrammatical. Then ECP and control. Empty category principle. Traces and empty categories must be properly governed. Control theory. The reference of pro is determined by the controller in the matrix clause. It will control verbs. Then moving the principles and parameters, that is episode number 6. Mid-1980s, the most elegant solution to the problem of language diversity, Chomsky proposed that universal grammar consists of two components: principles that are common in all human languages and parameters that are the variants that are different in different languages. This explains that what all languages share and how they differ. A child acquiring language is essential, setting the parameters of UG based on input. Then it is one grammar and many languages. It is about that everyone has principles in their mind about every language, that they're going to be subject, verb, object, structure of sentence, or there will be, and they're supposed to be in a sentence: subject, object, and a verb. Their positioning can be different, that is parameters. Here it is introduced universal principles, parameters, product parameter, head direction parameter, language acquisition, cross-linguistic variation, and markedness. Then moving to episode number 7, that is the DP hypothesis. 1987, this is given by Abney in his dissertation. Well, traditionally NP was used if you say the book, but then which is headed by N. But then it was argued that not always N can be standard, so DP, determiner phrase, was introduced that will be used above NP. You can check out the video for better understanding about this. So the DP hypothesis is now standard and directly enable development in minimalism. Functional heads and argument projection. When a noun phrase found its head, this is about this. DP hypothesis, determiner as head, NP versus DP, functional heads, ND and parallelism, spec and DP and Abney. Then moving forward to the third pillar. That is from episode 9 to 10. Remember this, that these videos did not contain the tree diagram practice videos. It is minimalism, which is efficiency. So the final question that is asked is, can we reduce the entire architecture of sentence to absolute minimum? Minimalism strips away everything that is not strictly necessary and asks what the simplest possible grammar looks like. So it is about that things go complex, things can be simple, so focus on that. So episode 9, the minimalist program, spanning from 1993 to 1995. The minimalist program, Chomsky 1995 book, stripped syntax to its core. The key move is eliminate D structure and S structure as level of representative, entirely replace them with a single derivation. That is, two interfaces must be satisfied PF, sound, and then LF, meaning. Any syntactic operation that does not serve these interfaces should not exist. This produces the economy conditions, procrastinate, greed, and the requirement that movement is always feature-driven. This is where syntax stripped down to its core, consisting of concepts like merge, move, PF, LF, economy conditions, procrastinate, greed. Checking theory, agree, and CHL, that is computational. Core operations, merge, take two syntactic objects, alpha and beta, combine them into one, label the result, repeat. This single operation replaces all phrase structure rules. An economy is do less. Operations are permitted only if they are necessary. Movements occur only to check uninterpretable features. If you can do nothing, do nothing. Then interfaces PF and LF syntax serves exactly two masters, the sound system PF and the meaning system LF. Nothing in syntax exists for any other reason. So Chomsky extended his own work by rejecting his previous works and making his model more and more efficient, so which resulted in minimalism. Then bare phase structure and phase theory, spanning from 1955 to 2000. This is the final refinement by Chomsky, which eliminated X-bar template entirely. No more fixed levels, minimals and maximals, or defined relationally. Every structural property emerges from merge itself. Phase theory adds cyclic derivation, that is, syntax build sentences in phases, VP and CP, and each completed phase sends its interior to the interface, sealing it off. Then the phase interpretability impenetrability condition, that is PIC, derives locality from a single principle, no more island constraints. Case where syntax work in phases, having concepts like bare phase structure, relational labels, external merge, internal merge, phase theory, VP phase, CP phase, cyclic spellout, PIC, and successive cyclic movement. Now, here these are 10 episodes that are completed. So this is a general chart for understanding that which concept goes where. So these are the three that go side by side. For understanding X bar is structure, GB is relations, minimalism is efficiency. So this is just a trick to understand. If it is about the shape or architecture of the phrase or clause, it belongs to X bar. Then in GB, if it is about who refers to whom, who moves where, and who licenses what, it belongs to GB. And if it is about reducing operations, economy, or cyclic derivation, it belongs to minimalism. So the concept introduced in the first one is phrase structure rules, and that consists about sentence consists of NP and VP and further. Then in GB is binding theory, consisting of principles. Then in minimalism is merge, how. Then the second one is deep structure and surface structure, belonging to X bar, two level of representation. Let's go one by one. First discuss this one and then this one and then this one. Then X bar schema, that is head and then X bar and XP. Then specifier has complementary slots inside every X bar phase. Then the next one is transformation, rules that move constituent between deep structure and surface structure. Another concept is universal grammar, innate biological endowment shared by all humans, the basis of all human language structure. Then is competence and performance, which is what you know, grammar versus what you say, production. Then I language and E language. I language is internal mental grammar versus E language, which is external social language. Then the last concept here is ESG and REST refinement of the aspects model. Now let's look at the GB, the which concepts are in GB. First is binding theory, then C command, then case and filter theory, then theta theory, then government. Other concept is move alpha, and then ECP and pro, that is control, then principles and parameters, and DP hypothesis. These are the concepts introduced in GB. Then moving on to minimalism. First one is merge, a single binary operation that builds all phrase structures. Then CHL, that is computational system for human languages. Then PF and LF interface. Then economic conditions. Then economic conditions. Moving forward is bare phase structure. Then phase theory, cyclic spellout. Then phase impenetrability condition. Only the phase head and its edges are accessible, the interior is sealed. Then successive cyclic movement. Now these are all the concepts. Let me show you clearly. Okay. Now let's look at the full timeline. It says for understanding 1957 syntactic structure, then 1965 aspects. 1969 to 77 it's ESG and REST. Then 70 to 77 is XBAR theory. Then 81, starting from here, is government and binding. And mid-80s is principles and parameters. 87, it is DP hypothesis. Then 86 is knowledge of language. Then the minimalism program, which is spanning from 1993 to 95. Then bare phase structure and phase theory from 1995 to 2004. This is the whole timeline. Let's look at it slowly. These colors represent which is part of which. This one, as it's golden in color, so it's part of this, which is X bar. Now this is it. From structure to thought, the journey of syntax, from the first phrase structure rules in 1957 to the last phase boundary in 2004 is a single long argument that human language is not arbitrary, it is elegant, constrained, and biological. So it started from phrase structure rules, then moving to XBAR template, then principles and modules and parameters, then merge, and then phases. So this is just the whole crux. That is, XBAR is structure, what shape is it? GB is relation, who does what to whom? Minimalism is efficiency, what is the minimum need? So this is it for today. I hope you can understand it easily. Thanks for watching. Please do comment, as it means a lot. It's a requirement for YouTube algorithm too. Do like, subscribe and share. And if you have any question or any suggestion, do write in the comment section please. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.